U.S. federal agency considering a ban on gas stoves. A ban on gas stoves. So for all of you who are in areas where you get snowed in and power gets cut off, I'm sorry, you can't eat. So here's the funny thing. So I was in Alaska for a whole winter in Alaska. My wife gets at me because I talk about it way too much, but it was one of the greatest trips of my entire life. I've been almost to every state in the country, and Alaska is still my all-time favorites. But I spent a winter in Alaska. It was amazing. And guess what? There's a lot of people who live outside some of the cities like Anchorage who, guess what? They have to have gas stoves because once it snows, a lot of them will lose power pretty routinely. And it's okay when it comes to your refrigerator, right? Because you can just store your food outside, and many of them actually do. Like I met someone who actually had a fridge in their garage, wasn't connected, but what it was is that the garage stayed so cold itself during the winter, if their power went out, they could just move their food into this fridge in their garage that wasn't even connected to anything, and it was so cold outside, it would still keep all of their food nice and fresh. So, they don't, they lose their power consistently. Many places across the country lose their power consistently, right? I mean, this past Christmas, my family lost power on Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve, we lost power, and we barely had enough gas to power the gas fireplace to keep the house even just a little bit warm. We were in our jackets, shivering in our house on Christmas Eve because the power ended up going out over there. But for those who have gas stoves, you can keep cooking. You can keep, if the power goes out, if you get snowed in, guess what? You're fine. You're totally fine. Because all you have to do is store your food outside, bring it in, cook it on your gas stove, because many houses that have gas stoves have giant tanks outside full of gas, and as long as you keep that thing updated, it will last you a good long while. But what they want to do now is they're considering a ban on gas stoves. Now, I do want to put this out there. They did start walking this back. They said, oh, we're not sure about this. They did that thing where they'll announce something. People will get mad at it and then they'll say, oh, no, you're crazy. We were never actually talking about that. But the reality is, yes, they were. They just saw the negative reaction. And again, that's why I pulled this up on CNN, because even they straight up said they're considering banning gas stoves here, right? And this was yesterday on January 11th. So here we go. A federal agency is considering a ban on gas stoves, a source of indoor pollution linked to childhood asthma. Now, for one, I would like to see that study, because I've also seen plenty of studies that say that actually just having too much dust in the house causes asthma. Having dog hair in the house causes asthma. Just having a dirty house in general causes asthma. Now, from what I've seen on the study they're referencing, the main thing they were looking at was basically one bedroom apartments. Really small spaces is what they were mostly talking about in the study, saying that there is some pollution link with having a gas stove. Even then, again, I'll go through it a bit more, but everything I saw pretty much said, it's kind of more speculated. Like they're not 100% sure whether or not it is, or whether it could be other factors, again, including just not having a fully cleaned house, not having a proper air filter in the house. Maybe you didn't change the filters up there, because guess what? If you don't change the filters in your AC units and everything, it can also lead to childhood asthma, they've shown. So whether or not it's a gas stove entirely, or whether, correlation versus causation, right? The 101 thing we always learn at college. They don't know for sure. But just having that speculation out there, they decided, hey, we're going to move to try to ban any new gas stoves from being created. So Richard Trumka Jr. is a U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commissioner, set off a firestorm this week by saying in an interview with Bloomberg that gas stoves pose a hidden hazard and suggests the agency could ban them. Trumka confirmed to CNN everything is on the table when it comes to gas stoves, but stressed any ban would only apply to new gas stoves, not existing ones. So here's the thing they're really talking about for the most part. They're mostly talking about apartment complexes. That any new ones that get built needs to have electric over gas. Again, I find this to be absolutely stupid. And for one, let's just put this out here. Gas cooks better than electric. There is no comparison. I don't care what some idiot online says. Gas cooks better than electric. Oh, but with electric, I can get to even cook across my entire... No, shut up. You don't know how to cook. That's your problem. All right. If you know how to cook, gas is better than electric. Now, of course, coal is better than gas. All right. If you're going to actually properly, do like a nice pulled pork or something like that, or some ribs, you want some actual coal, you want some smoke. I was the KCBS South Carolina state champion for ribs back in, I think it was 2010 is when we competed there. So I know a thing or two about my damn ribs. I know a thing or two about cooking. It goes coal, gas, then electric. And the reality is electric just is an inferior way to cook your food. But more importantly, like I said before, gas allows you to stay off the grid. And I think that's their real issue. They want to get people off the grid, or because we have a looming crisis when it comes to natural gas. Remember, a big provider of natural gas is Russia. All right, Russia's a big provider when it comes to natural gas. They're a big provider when it comes to almost all forms of energy, unfortunately. And right now we're in a very stupid war against them, and we are at war with them. All right, you can't give someone a gun, say, hey, here's a gun for you to shoot this person, and then say you're not against that person, right? I mean, we're in a war with, it's a proxy war, but we're in a war with Russia. It's just the reality of it. So what does that mean? Well, we know, for one, fertilizer's down. We know natural gas is down. We know oil is down. We know, of course, with Ukraine being basically the breadbasket of Europe, that's a big problem right now, obviously. So we know there's kind of a looming crisis that's going to eventually hit again. So we have the buildup from everything that happened from COVID with all the lockdowns and everything like that. That's already hurting us. And then guess what? We're now going to have a huge, domino effect starting to happen when it comes to what's going on over in Ukraine and Russia. It's a total disaster. So I wonder if they're trying to get people off gas because they know that we're going to have less of it in the coming years. Hopefully not. Hopefully we get someone better in office and we can just kind of settle this whole mess. I don't know. But isn't it kind of funny that every single time a Democrat has been elected to office, Russia has encroached on Ukraine? And every single time a Republican's been in office, they haven't really done jack. Like it was under Obama when he launched missiles into Georgia and took they took one of the cities over in Ukraine. I forget which one it was. I'm sorry, it escapes me at the moment. And then, of course, under Trump, they backed off, did nothing. And then Biden comes into office, full-out war on Ukraine. It's kind of funny how that works. Yet, of course, it's the Republicans who are spouting off Russian propaganda. Either way, we're talking about gas stoves. So I wonder, is it an issue where they don't want people off the grid? Or is it an issue where they know that natural gas is going to be lower, so they're going to try to switch more people onto electric? Or is it kind of the case like you saw over in, I think it was Colorado, it might have been Denver, I believe, where people's AC units said they couldn't turn the heat on up to a certain degree because there was a rule in effect to try to save power. I wonder if something similar like that can also be done to your cooking appliances if they're all on the electrical grid. The reality is that, unfortunately, I have an electric stove downstairs. I would rather have gas, but tough shit, right? I'm stuck with it for now. But for those who are having gas stoves, no matter what happens in the world, no matter what's going on around, they can remain independent. They can remain doing whatever they want, and they'll be just fine. And let's face it, the government doesn't like that, or doesn't like people who do that. All right, there's laws against just collecting freaking rainwater to just have water for your house. Hey, the amount of laws the government has on what you can do to actually live off the grid, the reality is you really can't. You really can't truly live off the grid, at least not very easily in this country, because they want to keep you on the grid 24/7. And to me, this is just one step going towards that as well.